All right, guys, welcome back. And by now, you have seen it all over the internet. I've did a few shorts. There's a lot of other guys that have did videos on this machine. And here it is, guys. The newest trick in my bag of tricks here at the Clack Shack. I'm going to give you a really good look at these best I can with the camera. These are crystals that are 48 millimeters by 48 millimeters by 100 millimeters tall. And to do these type of engravings, you have to have a very specific type of laser with a very specific set of tools built into it. And so I've got one in the shop now. I've been playing with it for a little while, and I want to share with you guys what I think about it and where I think this thing could come in handy if you're doing lasers as a business. So let's get started. All right, guys, so I'm just going to show you around the machine a little bit. Just to give you a rundown of this machine, this is the ComMarker Omni 1. You can hear that fan possibly in the background. It has other fans up top that are much louder, but I've got those unplugged for the sake of the audio in my video here. This is the ComMarker Omni 1. I've had this guy for quite a while. It's a really good machine. It's kind of been my go-to for doing unknown materials or materials that are a little finicky when it comes to settings. The ComMarker Omni 1 is great for marking plastics, glass, clear materials. It'll basically mark anything. It also does engraving on woods and other materials, which is something that fiber lasers can't do. With woods on fiber lasers, there's a whole complex list of reasons why they're not ideal for doing wood products. But the UV can do basically anything you throw at it. It also does really clean engravings on wood. And so the technology of these two machines are very similar as far as the wavelength and the materials list. The big difference in this machine, as you can see, both of them have the manual adjustment with the Z-axis, but this guy actually has automatic Z movements that allow it to do the crystals and stuff like that. It does also, you'll notice that the big difference in the two machines is that the new Omni X, it also has an enclosure. The enclosure is really nice for like protection from the light, but I will tell you there's still some work needs to be done to the airflow and the fan setups and stuff like that. So, but they're working through that. This machine is like an early release, and so there may be some changes to that. But as far as eye safety, they've gone all out. This is one of the smoother operating lids that I have seen. From a creator standpoint, I wish the handle was a little lower because it's like right in the way. But, you know, not everybody's going to have that issue. It is very ergonomic to grab and let it up and down. It moves up and down relatively smoothly. It does have springs that assist it, so as far as that part goes. Now, what is this machine good for and who is it good for? Like I said, it'll interact with any material that you can put under it. The only thing that you have to be considerate of is the work area. And I'm going to turn this thing off and see if it gets a little quieter in here. I've done a few upgrades to mine, so some of you guys may have noticed some of my upgrades. If you see anything orange, it's 3D printed. Those are my parts that I came up with. But the machine, this machine, one caveat that you need to know about is this machine currently, Lightburn does not have the capability of doing the crystals. So if you want to do the crystals, you're not going to be able to do that in Lightburn. ComMarker has their own app, which so far has worked really well with this machine. That allows you to be able to do those. It's almost like 3D printing has met laser engraving. Like you're working with 3D models and lasering all in one machine. So that's pretty neat. The 3D renderings inside crystal is going to be something that Lightburn's just not set up to handle. I do think eventually they'll adapt it to where you can use it in like flat mode basically by itself. Yeah, nice looking machine. Some of the upgrades that I've done to mine, just so that you'll know, back here on the back, you can see it used to have a fan right there. I 3D printed myself an adapter so that I could connect this hose. This is a 4-inch to 3-inch hose adapter on that 4-inch hose. That way I could use my exhaust setup to pull the fumes and stuff out of the machine. Now, when you're doing crystal, there's nothing. I mean, there is no fumes. There's no nothing. You can't see anything. And I also did a little bit of modifications to the back here. There was a couple of the umbilical for the fiber optic cable and some other stuff was kind of in the way of the output, so I made myself an extension right here to kind of pull the exhaust from a little further into the console here to get away from the wiring and everything. So that was a little bit of a homemade thing as well. This jig apparatus, I use this on a lot of my machines. I have more of them. So this is just something so that I can use my jig setups. The machine does come with 2 lenses, and if you're using the lens currently that's in there, the 70mm lens, you're going to need this little jack stand that it comes with. It is included with the machine. I made it to where mine just kind of stays put using the jig kit that I've developed. I also added myself a 3D printed little switch holder there. This is to turn the lights off and on inside the cabinet. It does have that light that you saw, and I'll turn it back on for a second so you can see it. This allows me to turn the light off and back on. Reason so is with this UV machine, in order to do the framing, you have to use this little paddle, and it's really hard to see with that light on inside there. So by having the switch, I turn the switch to kill the lights while I'm framing, and then once I get through framing, I can turn the switch back on and just kind of use it to observe the engraving that way. All right, so one thing I did want to discuss with you guys is with this machine, I know a lot of you are used to ComMarker's machines. I've had a few of them myself, and if you're not familiar, typically they work with light burn. But with the case of the Omni X, currently it's not working with light burn. And part of that is because the software, in order to do the crystals the way that you're doing it, you have to basically take, and it's almost like 3D printing meets crystal, like meets engraving. Because what you're doing is you're taking an STL file and you're putting it in the software inside the confines of whatever your material is. You can adjust it inside the software. You put the settings in for the laser, and the laser starts at the bottom of the engrave and works its way to the top. And the way it's able to do that is because the light can pass through the crystal, because it's so clear, it's literally crystal clear. The light of the laser can pass through the crystal, and it starts engraving at the point in which it is focused, which is going to be set at the bottom in the way that you set the software up. And it starts at the bottom and it works its way to the top. Now, with that, this material isn't like wood or other materials to where if it's not dark enough, you can go back over it, that type of thing. The thing that I have found is once you frost the glass, it's no longer crystal clear, and so therefore going back and redoing the image, it's a little trickier. I'm not going to say that you can't go back over some images, but if you frost it enough, it is going to cause the light to be reflected, refracted, absorbed, whatever, into the material, and you're not going to get the same desired effect. So practice makes perfect with these things. The only big negative that I've seen, these things are cool. I do plan on doing more of them. The only big negative that I've seen so far is sourcing the crystal and stuff is going to be a little more pricey than your traditional 3mm basswood. So to get proficient with it, to practice, it's going to be more of a business thing, as far as you're going to have to purchase practice materials with and then price jobs and sell them to make your money back. But from a business standpoint, I'm used to that. I'm good with that. I plan to venture into doing those and adding those to the menu here at the Clack Shack for my local customers that I do things for. Because I think this is a really, really specialized engrave, and I think the Omni definitely makes it more attainable for me. I mean, I did a couple of practices playing around with different settings to see, because I have found that by changing some of the settings, you can go from this frosted ghost image to more of a brown, dingy look. You can overdo it and it gets a little fuzzy. There are variations if you adjust your settings. Now, the settings that ComMarker sent with the machine did an okay job, but I noticed with the crystal, I was getting a little more of a brown image. So I adjusted my own settings, and I'll kind of go over that with you in just a second, give you a real quick run through of the software. Like I said, I want to keep this video kind of short and just introduce you to the machine. I don't want to go over a lot of material settings, because the material settings for this machine, as far as flat surfaces and stuff like that, it's not the big thing. The big thing is going to be the crystals, the subsurface engraving, whether it's crystal or glass. If you've got some 5mm thick glass, you can actually set this machine up and do subsurface engraving on it as well. I haven't got that down to a science yet. I'm still messing with it. I've been playing with the crystals, and I've had a lot of other stuff going on in the shop, so I really just hadn't had a chance to get to that point. But the materials, like I said, if you look at the materials and the capabilities of the Omni 1, just add crystals and subsurface to that list, and you've got the Omni X. So it's kind of like the Omni 1, but a more improved version. So let's jump over to the software and look at the interface that they're providing us with for this new machine. All right, guys, so apologize if you can hear the machine in the background. I've only got the main fans on. This is a software that's used for the machines. The ComMarker Studio is what they're calling it. My machine is currently connected here. You can access some different tools and stuff through here. Some of the stuff is password protected, but the book explains all that for you as far as getting into here. But to what we were just discussing, you have basic menus like you have with every other software, and it does look really familiar if you've used other laser manufacturer software before. So you have the text tool, you have the draw, images, vectors. It's got a cool little QR code or barcode code tool, which especially for these Galvo machines, I find that's really handy, because sometimes you do want to do like little marking barcodes and stuff, QR codes on items. So that's handy to have. Of course, you got the gallery with this little like preloaded clip art stuff here. 3D relief. I've played around with this a bit, but guys, I am still working the bugs out of this process for me. So we're going to skip past that today, and we're going to go straight into the glass. I feel like I've got a pretty good grip on the glass and how it works. So I'll just kind of run you through it real quick and share the settings with you in case you were to get one. These are the settings that I use. These are not the ones that ComMarker tells you to use. There's some listed in the book, as well as they do give a quite lengthy material list in the book. And they even have out here, if you, let's say you put a shape in here, there's actually even some materials in here that you can pick from. It's not a bunch, but I tell you, with the UVs, I have found over the past several months of using them that the settings are pretty consistent regardless of the material. Sometimes you just might have to run multiple passes. Plastics and metals, of course the pulse rate's going to differ and stuff like that, but it's really a very forgiving laser as far as being able to mark different things. So once you get into their software, you're going to click the 3D glass. It's as simple as, I'm going to go in here and open up. This is the skeleton that I did. I'm going to open up that file. Now you'll notice that he's way bigger than the size that I have designated for my crystal, which is 48 by 48 by 100. So I did have to scale him down to get him to fit inside this box. Now, when you bring a graphic in, it is going to, if you're familiar with 3D CAD software or 3D printing, you're familiar with like the origin, the X, Y, and Z 000, which is going to be right here in the center of the skeleton. You do have the ability here to move him around inside your designated area that you've got him set for. If you want to put him closer to the floor or raise him on up to the top. Typically speaking, though, you're going to want him in the middle, which is just this bullseye right here. If you want to rotate, same thing. You can rotate your design however you want to do it with these little tools. But for the most part, you're always going to want to center it. Once you get that set up, guys, it's really just about setting the focus, which you're going to have to set the focus prior to putting the crystal in there. Because the way this is working with this crystal software and this little plug-in for the crystals is the surface. When you focus the machine, you want it focused on the bottom of the crystal, because the machine is then going to come up and work off of that as far as the height of the crystal. Because remember, it starts at the bottom and works its way to the top. So once you set the focus, it's going to focus on your work plate. Then you'll place the crystal in there. Using the little framing tool, you'll look at the top of the crystal and make sure that your frame is in the center. Don't pay attention to how big the frame is, because keep in mind this is a galvo, and so the further you get down, it's going to move out away from the center of the lens. So with these crystals, when you're looking at it and it's framing, you're really only going to see like a little tiny frame right in the middle. Just make sure that that's in the middle of your crystal and you're good to go. A little trick with that is make yourself a jig like I did. That makes it a lot easier. You know, when you set that crystal in there, the beam of the laser should be going right through the center of the crystal down through the bottom. You could probably cheat and just use a practice one. Use one of your practice ones to make sure you've got everything lined up. Draw it with a Sharpie, whatever you got to do. But yeah, getting it in the center is a bit of a challenge, because once you get this focused, the height of this crystal, you don't got a whole lot of room between the top of the crystal and the lens. So it's a little challenging without using a fixture or a jig. So you may want to do that. The settings that I've used, these are the settings I've been using, and you can write this down if you're going to get the machine. 06, 06 on the X, Y, and the Z spacing. The depth, this axis depth and calibration depth, those two are pretty much material dependent from what I've been told by ComMarker. And so those are more than likely going to remain the same. The dwell is really the only one that if you're going to play around with settings. I did run some 800 and I ran down to 200 and 600. And I tried all those settings and I just found that the image and the quality I got at 400 was what I liked. Your material, where you're at, whatever. It may be different for you, but for me, that was the case. But once you do that, guys, it's like you can hit the preview. Of course, that's the frame. It's not a preview here. It frames on the machine. Confirm it and then just hit start and you're good to go. And that's how I made the one that I made, the one you saw a while ago. So there you go. Software is very simple for the 3D crystal so far. And like I said, flat engraving is even simpler, because you don't have to worry about anything but setting the focus, putting your image, your text, your shape here, and hitting start. You do not have to worry about the 3D model. Secondly, the image that I got, the little skeleton that I downloaded, I went to Thingiverse and downloaded it just like you would if you were grabbing some quick little 3D print files. So anywhere you can get an STL, you can use it on a crystal. So let's jump out of here. All right, guys. So with the 2 or 3 little negatives that I have with the machine, which is going to be the fans are too loud, in my opinion. I wish the fans were controlled by a heat sensor, or maybe you had a switch where you could turn them off and on. I understand why they did what they did, but the fans are very loud. Secondly, the fans do kind of inhibit the extraction of fumes, because there's so much air being moved around inside the enclosure. You're just stirring everything up instead of extracting it to the exit. But I think those are things that ComMarker is already working on improving, and those are simple fixes. Like with mine, I did some 3D printed parts and I've got mine worked out pretty well for me. When I'm doing the crystal engravings and there's no dust or anything to contend with, I don't even need the exhaust. So at that point, all I need is those 2 cooling fans. So I think there's a little bit of work to do to kind of streamline that. But guys, this is awesome. The machine is capable of doing things that I didn't see me being able to add that capability to my shop for the price that they're selling the machine. And I'm really thinking that there's a market for it now. It may become crowded in the next couple of years as things become affordable. But there's a lot of people out there looking for these things, souvenirs, memorial type things. This STL files for a memorial type setup is going to be a little more challenging. There are apps and things out there that you can do, AI tricks and stuff, to try to take an image and make it into an STL. I've played around with some of that, and so far I haven't had the best of luck. But doing an image on this, or doing the STLs of, like historic locations or just scenic locations, characters, whether you're doing like my buddy Steve over at Ventari's Workshop, he's been doing the Darth Vaders. I've seen a lot of the Star Trek stuff. So a lot of those STLs that you can get from Thingiverse, you could drop it in glass and there you go, or drop it in crystal, whichever. So I think there's definitely a need for it in the niche that is laser engraving, and I am looking forward to seeing what all it's capable of. So stay tuned to the channel, because over the next few months, I plan on doing a lot more content with the machine, maybe mastering, doing the 3D stuff, some images, and I'm also trying to figure out where to source the crystals from. I've reached out to ComMarker to find out if they're going to be providing those from their website or not. Hadn't got an answer back, but part of me says that they probably will, because as a company goes, that's one more thing that they can bring to, you know, continue that relationship between the customer and the company to kind of keep you in good with them after the sale. So the whole thing in a nutshell is, guys, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm glad to add it to my shop. These little guys too, they look awesome when you illuminate them from the bottom with different color lights and so forth. So stay tuned for more content with the Omni X. And if you hadn't already, go check out my buddy Steve's channel. I don't think he has his video out today, but as soon as he gets his video with the Omni X out, check down in the description below. I'll drop a link to Steve's channel, and you can go check out the video and check out what he thinks about the machine. I know we've had conversations that he's been playing with the machine as well. It is amazing, and it is amazing to me that it is as simple as it is. I was expecting it to be a lot harder. So there you go. That's it in a nutshell, guys. So until next time, be safe and have a good day.